Most of us like to think we have an open mind. We're willing to question what we've been taught, be open to new ideas, and explore new possibilities that other people might dismiss. But how do you know where the boundaries of your open mind actually are? How do you know what you've already decided is impossible without ever really questioning why? A closed mind doesn't necessarily feel closed from the inside. It simply filters everything through what it already accepts as possible, and everything beyond those boundaries can seem ridiculous, irrational, impossible, or simply untrue. And that's what makes the closed mind such an effective prison. You can't see the walls when you're convinced the walls are reality. So how closed is your mind? And how much of what you consider impossible have you actually determined for yourself? Today, we're going to explore the difference between a closed mind and an open mind, how social consciousness shapes the boundaries of what we allow ourselves to consider possible, and what those boundaries may ultimately prevent us from knowing and experiencing. So, what exactly is a closed mind? It's not simply refusing to listen to someone else's opinion or stubbornly insisting that you're right. A closed mind is a mind that has established boundaries around what it considers possible. Anything that falls within those boundaries can be considered, explored, and accepted. But when an idea falls outside of them, the mind rejects it, typically before it's even been considered. We do this all the time. We hear something that contradicts what we already understand about reality, about another person, about how something works, about what we believe we're personally capable of, and even what the human body is capable of, and immediately think, that's ridiculous, that's rubbish, that's wrong, that can't happen, or that's simply not possible. But notice what happened. We didn't explore the idea and then decide whether it had value. We rejected it because it conflicted with what we already knew. A closed mind doesn't bloom, it doesn't expand, and it closes itself off from higher knowing and the experience of higher states of consciousness. An open mind works very differently. Having an open mind doesn't mean you believe everything you hear, accepting every strange idea as truth, abandoning your ability to reason or be discerning. It simply means being willing to entertain a thought without immediately needing to accept or reject it. You can explore an idea, question it, play with it, take it as far as you want, and then decide whether it resonates with you or not. The difference is that you actually allowed yourself to go there first and explore. And that distinction is incredibly important because the moment you decide what you already know determines what is possible, what's correct, what's acceptable, what's real, you automatically close yourself off from any knowledge and information that falls outside of it. Your existing knowledge stops being a foundation for greater understanding and becomes the boundary, a prison that prevents it. This is where social consciousness comes in, because the boundaries of a closed mind don't appear out of nowhere. From the moment we're born, we're surrounded by other people telling us, directly and indirectly, how life is supposed to be. Our families teach us one version of it. Our schools teach us another. Religion, science, culture, governments, the media, our friends and the communities we live in all influence what we accept as normal, what's true, what's possible, what's impossible, what we should value and not value, how we should behave, and even who we should be. We absorb so much of this before we're ever old enough to consciously question any of it. And once these ideas become established within us, judgment becomes one of the ways we keep those boundaries firmly in place. A closed mind is surrounded by walls built from stones of judgment. When a thought comes along that challenges what we've already accepted, we don't simply discount it, we judge it. We quickly dismiss it as something that's not even worthy of our time or consideration. And the moment we do that, we've closed the door on wherever that thought might have taken us. It's recognizing the difference between exploring an idea and deciding what we really think about it and judging an idea before we've even allowed ourselves to explore it. And many of the ideas we become so certain of in the first place come from the shared consciousness around us. Ramtha refers to this as social consciousness, Bashar as collective consciousness, Seth as mass consciousness, and the law of one as the planetary mind. And this isn't just one enormous collective consciousness that everyone shares in exactly the same way. There are many different yet overlapping collective beliefs that we participate in to different degrees. A family can have its own collective consciousness with deeply ingrained ideas about religion, money, relationships, success, or what kind of life you're supposed to live. A religion can have one around God, morality, death, and what happens after we die. A culture can have shared ideas about status, beauty, gender, work, aging, and what constitutes a successful life. Political groups, professions, generations, and even groups of friends can develop their own shared ideas about what's true and how the world works. None of us belongs to only one of these. We're surrounded by these different overlapping systems of social consciousness all the time. Together, these shared beliefs help create what we experience as consensus reality. And consensus reality is incredibly convincing because everywhere we look, other people appear to conform to it. If almost everyone around you accepts that something is impossible, eventually it stops feeling like a belief that you've accepted and starts feeling like an obvious fact. You don't stop and think, this is one interpretation of reality that I've chosen to participate in. You simply think, that's how reality works. And that's where social consciousness can quietly become the walls, the prison of the closed mind. But knowledge is power, and things are beginning to change because we're beginning to wake up. We're becoming more aware of the limiting constructs that we've previously chosen to buy into. And as we do, we can begin to distinguish between the ideas we've consciously explored for ourselves and those we've simply inherited or accepted without questioning them. We can choose to remove ourselves from any collective consciousness that we feel no longer serves us. That doesn't mean automatically rejecting collective beliefs either. That would just be another form of closed-mindedness. Some of them may serve you perfectly. The point is that we become conscious enough to examine them for ourselves. We can consciously and with discernment choose to participate in the collective ideas that align with what we prefer to experience without assuming that every belief held by the majority defines the limits of what's possible for us. And so, let's talk about the real cost of a closed mind. If you only allow yourself to consider thoughts that fit within what you already accept as possible, then everything outside of those boundaries is automatically excluded from your experience. You keep drawing from the same pool of ideas, reaching the same kinds of conclusions, and reinforcing the same understanding of what life can and cannot be. The prison isn't that greater possibilities don't exist. The prison is that you've already decided that for you, they can't exist. So you never allow yourself to explore them in the first place. The more unlimited your thinking becomes, the more unlimited your life becomes. This is where the concept of genius becomes really interesting. We tend to think of a genius as someone who has the ability to think in ways that the rest of us simply can't. 𝗬𝗻𝗀 describes a genius as someone who allows themselves to contemplate ideas that other people won't. They're willing to venture beyond conventional thinking and entertain thoughts that might initially seem outrageous or impossible. It's not that everyone else was incapable of thinking those thoughts. It's that a mind must first be open enough to conceive of them and not reject them before they ever have the opportunity to see where they might lead. Think about leaps in human progress. At some point, someone had to question an accepted explanation, imagine and act on something that others before them hadn't, attempt something other people considered impossible, or look at a problem from a completely different perspective. If every new idea had to agree with everything humanity already knew before it was worthy of exploration, we'd never progress. Instead, using our existing knowledge to confirm our existing knowledge. And the same principle applies in our own lives. Every time we automatically decide, I could never do that. That could never happen for me. People don't change. There's no other explanation. Or that's just the way things are. We create another boundary around what we're willing to explore and accept. And because we often resist investigating what's beyond a boundary we created, that boundary can become self-reinforcing. We see our existing experience as proof that we were right. We don't consider that our own thinking may have prevented us from ever venturing far enough beyond it to discover something different. An open mind can take you places a closed mind simply can't. You don't have to know where a new thought will lead. You simply have to be willing to follow it far enough to discover what it has to offer. Because every time you allow yourself to genuinely consider something beyond what you already know, the walls of that prison begin to collapse. My question to the architect. Can you please share with me your thoughts on a closed mind and the limitations it imposes on our lives? And here is the sharing. Beloved, a closed mind refers to a state of consciousness characterized by rigidity, resistance to new ideas, and an unwillingness to consider perspectives outside of one's own beliefs. A closed mind stifles growth and evolution. Without openness to new experiences or ideas, individuals remain trapped in familiar patterns, preventing personal and spiritual development. New ideas, creative solutions, and meaningful connections can be overlooked or dismissed, leading to missed opportunities for growth, collaboration, and transformation. Consciousness is a dynamic, evolving field. A closed mind restricts this flow, constraining potential and creating stagnation. A closed mind limits exposure to diverse viewpoints, leading to a narrowing understanding of reality. This can result in a lack of empathy, compassion, and connection with others. When closed off, it restricts the opportunity to learn and grow from others. The richness of life comes from the interplay of different ideas and perspectives. A closed mind can lead to a defensive, fear-based mindset, increasing stress and anxiety. The inability to adapt to new information creates a sense of instability and discomfort. Emotional resilience is built through openness and adaptability. A closed mind prevents the development of these essential qualities. In contrast, an open mind allows for the exploration of new ideas, experiences, and diverse perspectives, fueling creativity, innovation, more effective problem solving, and the emergence of new possibilities. It fosters curiosity and a willingness to learn, leading to personal growth and transformation. An open mind creates space for empathy, compassion, and understanding. Being receptive to differing viewpoints cultivates deeper connections and a sense of unity with others. The universe is governed by principles of harmony and balance. An open mind aligns with these principles, allowing for the natural flow of growth and evolution. And so, the more we allow ourselves to entertain vast and unrestricted ideas, the greater our ability to conceive of something greater than we currently experience. And that's the energy of expansion, a force so powerful that it triggers higher frequency states where our experience of existence moves from one of being bound to one of being boundless. To have an open mind is the foundation of awakening. It moves us from limitation to expansion, from ignorance to wisdom, from separation to wholeness. Because the moment you realize the prison was created by the boundaries of your own mind, it dissolves in the light of day. And with that, we'll bring this to a close. Thank you for joining me in this exploration. Questions or comments are always welcome. I do read them all, and there's a question in the pinned comment for any insights that you'd like to share. If this sharing resonates and you'd like to hear more, please hit the like button, which helps me know if you're inspired by my teachings. For more insights, tap the notification bell to be notified when new videos are released. Thank you so much for listening and for being part of this beautiful growing community where we break free from the prison walls of the closed mind and discover the truly unbound nature of consciousness. Superhuman made simple with the architect.